The box arrived on a Tuesday, 3 weeks after Marcus received the call that his father had died. It was small, wrapped in brown paper, with Marcus's name written in his father's distinctive handwriting, sharp angles, letters that leaned slightly to the right, the kind of penmanship that belonged to a generation that still valued such things. The return address was the hospice facility where Thomas Reeves had spent his final days. Marcus stood in the doorway of his apartment, turning the package over in his hands. He hadn't seen his father in 14 years. Hadn't spoken to him in 12. The last words they'd exchanged had been angry, final, the kind of words that built walls too high to climb back over. And now this box. Marcus set it on his kitchen table and stared at it for 3 hours before he found the courage to open it. Inside was a journal, leather-bound, worn at the edges, stuffed so full of loose papers that it barely closed. A yellow sticky note was attached to the cover, written in a stranger's careful hand. "He wanted you to have this. Said you'd understand when you were ready. Marlene." Marcus opened the journal with trembling hands. The first page was dated 30 years ago. The day Marcus was born. "Dear Marcus, you came into the world at 6:47 this morning, screaming like you were angry at being disturbed. The nurse said that's a good sign, strong lungs, strong will. Your mother is sleeping now, exhausted and perfect. You're wrapped in a blue blanket in the bassinet beside her bed, and I'm supposed to be sleeping too, but I can't stop looking at you. I don't know how to be a father. My own father wasn't much of a teacher in that department. But I'm going to try. I'm going to try to be better. I'm going to try to be enough. I promise you that. Love, Dad." Marcus's vision blurred. He turned the page. Another entry, dated 3 days later. Then a week later. Then scattered entries marking milestones. First smile, first word, first steps. His father's handwriting documenting a childhood Marcus barely remembered, filled with observations and promises and fierce, quiet love. Then he reached a date that made his chest tighten. 18 years ago. His 7th birthday. The day everything started to fall apart. "Dear Marcus, today you turned 7. Your mother and I threw you a party at the park, your idea, because you wanted to play on the swings with your friends. I watched you laugh as you climbed the jungle gym, fearless, and I wanted to tell you how proud I am of you. But I got called into work instead. Emergency at the plant. I left the party early, and I saw the look on your face when I said goodbye. Disappointment. I'm seeing that look more and more lately. I'm working 2 jobs now. Your mother doesn't know about the second one yet, night shifts at the warehouse. We're behind on the mortgage, and I don't want her to worry. I don't want you to worry. So I'm not there for dinner anymore. I'm not there for bedtime stories. I'm not there for the 1,000 little moments that make up your life. I'm doing this for you, for our family, but you're 7 years old. You don't understand that. You just know that Dad keeps leaving. I'm sorry, son. I'm so sorry." Marcus remembered that birthday. Remembered his father disappearing halfway through, leaving his mother to handle the cake, the games, the cleanup. It was the first of many disappearances, the beginning of an absence that would define their relationship. He turned more pages, heart hammering. The journal was thick with years. Marcus read through the night, unable to stop, barely able to breathe. Every birthday, every Christmas, every milestone, his father had written him a letter. Letters full of explanations Marcus had never heard. Apologies for missed baseball games, forgotten recitals, parent-teacher conferences his father never attended. Age 10. "I missed your school play today. You were supposed to be a tree in the forest scene. You were so excited about your costume. But the car broke down, and by the time I got it running again, the play was over. Your mother said you kept looking for me in the audience. She said you wilted a little more each time you scanned the crowd and didn't see my face. I'm failing you. I know I am. But I don't know how to do better. How to be present when I'm drowning trying to keep us afloat. Age 12. You started middle school this year. You're being bullied. Your mother told me you won't talk to me about it anymore. Won't talk to me about anything, really. We live in the same house, but we're strangers now. I tried to help. Went to the school, talked to the principal. But you got angry at me for interfering, for making it worse. Maybe I did make it worse. I don't understand this world you're growing up in. I don't understand you anymore. But I'm trying. God, Marcus, I'm trying so hard. Age 14. You brought home straight A's on your report card. I heard your mother congratulating you, heard the pride in her voice. I wanted to say something too, wanted to tell you how brilliant you are, how much potential you have. But when I opened my mouth, what came out was, good. Don't let it go to your head. Why did I say that? Why can't I tell you what I really feel? The words get stuck somewhere between my heart and my mouth, and what comes out is wrong. Always wrong. You looked at me like I'd slapped you. Then you walked away, and I stood there wondering how I became the kind of father whose son can't wait to escape from. Marcus remembered that moment. Remembered the sting of his father's words, the careful emotional distance he'd started to maintain. By 14, he learned not to expect warmth from Thomas Reeves. Learned not to want it. But here, in these pages, was the warmth. Hidden. Unspoken. Trapped in a journal his father carried but never shared. The letters grew more pained as Marcus grew older. High school years filled with his father's quiet desperation, watching Marcus slip further away and not knowing how to reach him. Age 16. You asked me today if you could go to art school instead of getting a real degree. I said no. I said art was a hobby, not a career. I said you needed to be practical, to think about your future. I watched your face close off. Watched you retreat into that cold politeness that hurts worse than anger. The truth is, I'm scared. Scared that you'll struggle the way I did. Scared that you'll choose passion over security and end up working yourself to death at 47 with nothing to show for it but debt and regret. But I should have said that. I should have explained. Instead, I just said no, and you heard it as, your dreams don't matter. They do matter, Marcus. They matter so much. Age 17. College acceptance letters are arriving. You got into 7 schools, including your top choice, the one with the excellent arts program. But it's expensive, so expensive, and we don't have that kind of money. Tonight at dinner, I told you that you needed to choose the state school. The affordable option. And you exploded. Called me controlling. Said I never supported your dreams. Said you couldn't wait to leave and never come back. I didn't tell you that I've been working with the financial aid office for months. Didn't tell you that I took out a second mortgage. Didn't tell you that I've been negotiating with the art school, that I found a way to make it work even though it means I'll be working until I'm 70. I wanted to surprise you. But you were so angry and I was so tired, and the words came out wrong again. If you want to waste your life on art, that's your choice. I didn't mean it. God, Marcus, I didn't mean it. Marcus set the journal down, hands shaking. He remembered that fight. Remembered the fury, the sense of betrayal. He'd left the table, slammed his bedroom door, and started planning his escape. And 2 weeks later, he'd gotten a call from the art school. Full financial aid package. He'd been stunned, suspicious. He'd asked the financial aid officer how it happened. A private donor, she'd said. Anonymous. Someone who believes in your talent. Marcus had assumed it was a wealthy patron, someone who'd seen his portfolio. He'd never questioned it. Never thought to wonder if it might have been his father, drowning in debt to give his son a dream. He picked up the journal again, unable to stop now. Age 18. You left for college today. Your mother cried. I didn't. I stood in the driveway and shook your hand like you were a business associate, and you looked relieved that I didn't try to hug you. I wanted to hug you. I wanted to tell you how proud I am. I wanted to say that I'm sorry for every time I failed you, every moment I wasn't there, every word that came out wrong. But you couldn't wait to leave. You loaded your car in record time, barely said goodbye. And I thought, this is what I deserve. I pushed you away for 18 years, and now you're finally going. Be happy, Marcus. Please be happy. Age 19. You didn't come home for Thanksgiving. Said you had too much work, but your mother talked to your roommate. You went to his family's house instead. I understand. I do. But it hurt. Hurt in a way I didn't know I could still hurt. Age 21. You graduated today. Summa cum laude. We saw you walk across that stage, shake the dean's hand, smile for the camera. You looked right past us in the audience. Like we weren't there. Afterward, you introduced us to your girlfriend, Claire, an art major like you. She's lovely, Marcus. Talented. Kind. She shook my hand and thanked me for coming, more warmth in those 5 seconds than you've shown me in years. We took a photo together, the four of us. You stood between me and Claire, your body angled away from mine. In the photo, it looks like you're trying to edge me out of frame. Maybe you are. The entries became less frequent after that. Once a year, on Marcus's birthday. Each one shorter, more resigned. Age 23, you're working at a gallery in Chicago now. Your mother keeps me updated. I'm glad you're following your dreams, son. I hope they're everything you wanted. Age 25, your mother said you're engaged. I'm happy for you. Claire seems wonderful. I hope she knows how lucky she is. Age 27, your wedding is next month. We didn't receive an invitation. Your mother called to ask if there was a mistake, and you told her there wasn't. Small wedding, you said. Just close family and friends. I suppose I'm neither anymore. Marcus's eyes burned. He remembered that conversation. Remembered his mother's quiet disappointment, his own cold resolve. His father had made his choices. Marcus had made his. He'd told himself it was justified. His father had been absent, critical, emotionally unavailable. Why should he get a front-row seat to Marcus's happiness when he'd never shown up for Marcus's pain? But reading these letters, Marcus was beginning to see another story. Not an excuse. His father's choices had still hurt him, had still shaped him in difficult ways. But an explanation. Context. The weight his father had carried silently, trying to provide, trying to protect, not knowing that what Marcus needed wasn't financial security, but emotional presence. Two men, both trying. Both failing. Both too proud or too afraid to bridge the gap between them. Age 29. Your mother says you and Claire are expecting a baby. A daughter. My first grandchild, though I suppose I won't be her grandfather in any real sense. I wonder if you'll be better at this than I was. I think you will be. You're more open than I ever was. More willing to be vulnerable. Maybe that's one thing I taught you. You saw my mistakes and learned from them. If so, that's something. Not enough, but something. Age 31. Lily is 2 now. Your mother shows me pictures. She has your eyes, Marcus. Your smile. I'm sick. The doctors say it's my heart, worn out, like the rest of me. I'm not surprised. I've felt it slowing down for years now, like an old clock winding down. I thought about reaching out to you. Thought about calling to tell you. But what would I say? I'm dying and I want to see my son before I go? That feels like manipulation. Like I'm trying to guilt you into a reconciliation. Besides, maybe it's better this way. You've built a good life without me in it. Why disrupt that now? Age 33. Lily is 4. She started preschool. Your mother attended the first day. You asked her to, since you and Claire both had to work. I wanted to go too. Wanted to see my granddaughter in her little backpack, holding her lunchbox. But I wasn't invited and I don't blame you. The heart condition is worse. I'm on medication now, but it's a losing battle. The doctor gives me 2 years, maybe 3 if I'm careful. I'm writing this letter knowing I'll probably never give it to you. Never give you any of these letters. What would be the point? They're full of excuses and regrets, explanations that come decades too late. But I keep writing anyway. Because even if you never read them, at least they exist. At least somewhere, there's a record of how much I loved you. How sorry I am. How much I wished I could have been different. Marcus had to stop reading. He set the journal down and pressed his palms against his eyes, trying to breathe through the pressure in his chest. His father had been sick for years. Had been dying. And Marcus hadn't known, because they hadn't spoken. Because Marcus had been too angry, too hurt, too stubborn to reach out. Because his father had been too proud, too ashamed, too convinced he didn't deserve forgiveness. The later entries were harder to read. His father's handwriting grew shakier, the entries shorter and more scattered. Age 35. Happy birthday, son. I'm in the hospital now. Won't be leaving this time, the doctors say. Heart's giving out. Your mother visits every day. She sits beside me and tells me about you, about Lily. About your gallery show that sold out. About Lily's kindergarten play. About the life you're living. She asks if I want her to call you. I always say no. What would you say to me after all these years? What could I possibly say to you? I'm sorry? I love you. I wish things had been different. All true. All inadequate. Age 36. This is the last birthday letter I'll write you, Marcus. Hospice says I have weeks, maybe days. I've been thinking about what to do with these journals. I could ask your mother to give them to you, but that feels cruel. Making you carry the weight of all this regret, all these unsaid words. Why should you have to bear that? But then I think, maybe you need to know. Maybe you deserve to know that I always loved you, even when I was terrible at showing it. That every game I missed, I wished I'd been there for. Every harsh word I said, I regretted. Every moment I was absent, I was thinking about you. I'm leaving these journals to Marlene, my hospice nurse. She's kind. Good listener. I'll tell her to send them to you after I'm gone, and you can decide what to do with them. Read them or burn them or throw them away. Whatever you need, son. I'm so proud of you. I know I never said it or said it wrong when I tried, but I'm proud of the man you became. The father you are. The artist, the husband, the person who learned to be open in ways I never could. You turned out better than me. That's all a father can really hope for. I love you, Marcus. I always have. I always will. I'm sorry I never learned how to say it out loud. Dad. Marcus closed the journal and sat in the darkness of his kitchen, tears streaming down his face. Outside, the sun was rising. He'd read through the entire night, through 36 years of birthdays, through a lifetime of letters his father had written but never sent. All the explanations Marcus had wished for as a child, as a teenager, as a young man pulling away from a father he didn't understand. They'd existed all along, hidden in a journal, carried but never shared. Marcus took a week off work. He told Claire he needed time to process, and she understood. She held him while he cried, listened while he read her excerpts from the letters, didn't try to fix what couldn't be fixed. "What are you feeling?" she asked on the third day, as they sat together on the couch, Lily playing with blocks at their feet. "Everything," Marcus said. "Grief, anger, regret, relief. I spent so many years convinced my father didn't care, that he was just cold, emotionally unavailable. And now I find out he cared too much. He just didn't know how to show it." "Both things can be true," Claire said gently. "He can have loved you and still hurt you. The letters don't erase the pain you felt. I know, but they explain it. And I spent 14 years without that explanation. 14 years thinking." He trailed off, watching Lily stack blocks with intense concentration. "I could have reached out, swallowed my pride, asked him why he was the way he was, why he never said the things I needed to hear. You were hurt. That's human. So was he." Marcus's voice cracked. He was hurt and scared and trying his best, and it wasn't good enough, but it was all he had. And I never gave him a chance to explain. Never gave him a chance to try again. Claire took his hand. "You're a wonderful father to Lily. You're warm and present, and you tell her you love her every single day." Maybe that's what he wanted. Maybe breaking the cycle was the point. Marcus looked at his daughter, this bright, happy child who'd never doubted for a moment that she was loved. He'd been so determined to be different from his father. And he'd succeeded. But maybe he'd also lost something in the rejection. Maybe there had been parts of his father worth knowing, worth keeping. Marcus started going through his father's belongings, the boxes his mother had saved, the few items the hospice had returned. Among them, he found photos he'd never seen before. His father at work, tired but smiling. His father at Marcus's high school graduation, standing in the back of the auditorium. Marcus hadn't known he'd been there. His father holding a baby picture of Marcus, his face soft with wonder. And in one box, Marcus found financial documents. The second mortgage his father had taken out. Payment records to Marcus's art school. Receipts for tuition, supplies, housing. His father had paid for everything. Not the anonymous donor Marcus had imagined. His father, working himself to death to give Marcus the education, the opportunities, the life Thomas Reeves had never had. Marcus sat surrounded by papers, by proof of a love he'd never seen because he'd been too hurt to look for it. That Sunday, Marcus took Lily to visit his father's grave for the first time. The cemetery was peaceful, spring flowers blooming among the headstones. Marcus knelt beside his father's marker, Lily holding his hand. "Who's this, Daddy?" she asked, pointing at the carved name. "This is your grandfather," Marcus said quietly. "My dad. Did you love him?" The question, so simple from a 6-year-old, hit Marcus like a physical blow. "Yes," he said, and realized it was true. Had always been true, even through all the anger and hurt. "Yes, sweetheart. I loved him very much." "Does he know?" Marcus's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know. I hope so." He pulled a letter from his pocket, his own letter, written over several days. He brought it to read aloud, a one-sided conversation with a man who could no longer answer. "Dear Dad," he began, his voice shaking. Lily leaned against his leg, listening quietly. "I read your letters. All of them. 36 years of things you never said." A breeze rustled through the trees, carrying the scent of fresh grass and flowers. "I wish you'd given them to me sooner. I wish we'd had this conversation when you were alive. I wish a lot of things. But mostly, I wish I'd known. Known that you were trying. Known that you cared. Known that your silence wasn't indifference, but fear." Marcus's throat tightened. "I was angry at you for so long. Angry that you were never there, never said the right things, never showed up the way I needed you to. And I was justified in that anger. You did hurt me. Your choices, even made with good intentions, had consequences." He wiped his eyes. "But I hurt you too. I shut you out. Refused to let you meet your granddaughter. Spent 14 years punishing you for not being perfect, for not being the father I wanted instead of the father you were capable of being." Lily squeezed his hand, and Marcus squeezed back. "I'm sorry, Dad. I'm sorry I never gave you a chance to explain. Sorry I was too stubborn to reach out. Sorry that we wasted so many years in silence when we could have been learning to understand each other." A tear fell onto the letter, smudging the ink slightly. "Thank you for the letters. Thank you for loving me, even when I made it hard. Thank you for working yourself to exhaustion to give me opportunities. Thank you for being proud of me, even when I didn't know you were." Marcus looked at his daughter. "Lily wants to know about you. She's going to ask questions, where you lived, what you liked, who you were. And I'm going to tell her. Not just the hard parts, but the full story. The man who worked 2 jobs to keep his family afloat. The father who carried regret like stones in his pockets, but kept moving forward anyway. The grandfather who loved her before he ever met her." He folded the letter and placed it at the base of the headstone, weighted down with a smooth river stone. "I love you, Dad. I should have said it more. I should have said it when you could hear it. But I'm saying it now, and I'm going to keep saying it. To Lily, to anyone who asks about you. Your story won't end in silence." Marcus stood, Lily's hand in his. They stood together in the quiet cemetery, 3 generations connected by love and loss, and all the complicated truths between. That night, Marcus started his own journal. "Dear Lily, today we visited your grandfather's grave for the first time. You asked if I loved him, and I said yes. It's true, though I wish I'd been better at showing it when he was alive. I'm writing this so you'll understand something important. Love is complicated. It's not always perfect or easy or clear. Sometimes people love each other and still hurt each other. Sometimes the people we love make mistakes, big ones, small ones, ones that echo for years. But that doesn't make the love less real. Your grandfather loved me. I know that now, even though he never quite learned how to say it. And I loved him, even though I spent too many years pretending I didn't. I'm writing this to you so that if we ever stumble, when we stumble, because we will, you'll know that love doesn't have to be perfect to be true. That sometimes understanding comes late, but it still counts. That forgiveness is possible, even after silence. I'm going to try to be better than my father was. But I'm also going to honor what he gave me, resilience, work ethic, the determination to provide for the people I love. And I'm going to give you what he gave me in those letters. Honesty about my failures, explanations for my choices, and the constant reassurance that you are loved. Not just in letters you'll read after I'm gone, but out loud, every single day. I love you, Lily. Your grandfather loved you too, even though he never got to tell you himself. Love, Dad." Marcus closed the journal and set it on his nightstand. Tomorrow he'd tell his mother about the letters. Tomorrow he'd start going through his father's belongings more carefully, looking for the man he'd never quite known. Tomorrow he'd begin the work of forgiveness, not just of his father, but of himself. Tonight, he sat in Lily's doorway and watched her sleep, this child who would grow up knowing she was loved not in theory, but in practice. Who would never have to read hidden letters to understand her father's heart. He'd broken the cycle his father couldn't break. But he'd also inherited something valuable, the knowledge that love persists, even in silence, even in absence, even in the spaces between what we mean to say and what actually comes out. His father had taught him that, in the end. Not through words spoken aloud, but through 36 years of letters written in hope and sealed in regret. It was enough. It had to be enough. And maybe, somehow, it was more than enough. Maybe it was everything.